we've been talking about the 6 types of working genius, a better way to understand your gifts, your frustrations, and your team. The book is out, has been out, and on Working Genius, and the Working Genius assessment is available online. You go to tablegroup.com/store, or you can go to workinggenius.com, either one. And all of Pat's books, the Ideal Team Player book that we've been referencing. And by the way, you've got to read that book. You got to read Advantage. You got to read the 5 Dysfunctions of the Team. You got to read everything the guy wrote. The current one, Motive, that's an incredible one. All of these things, you can get them all. Tablegroup.com/store or workinggenius.com, or click in the show notes and it'll send yourself right over there with that technology thingy that we do these days. So it's all good stuff. So let's shift gears for a second. I think one of the things I am still enamored with, and you and I have spent a lot of time talking about this, but I'm still enamored with it, is this idea that a company that has good organizational mental health and can do internal conflict well, because it's required, in a healthy way, a loving way, but still get the result done, has a distinct advantage. The thesis of the book, The Advantage, and part of that is being aligned with Working Genius. Part of that is having the right motive. Part of that is putting the ideal team players on the bus. All those kinds of things are pieces of that. Tearing down the silos, attacking the 5 dysfunctions of the team. All of that goes together. But it is kind of, I guess I always thought treating people right, and that includes being a truth teller, telling them the truth, not hiding from them, not allowing gossip in the organization, those kinds of things. I always thought that those biblical principles of treat other people like you want to be treated, what Jesus said, the golden rule, all these kinds of things require a level of personal character to be part of the team. All those kinds of things enter into organizational mental health, and that gives you an advantage. But you quantified that in a way that I've never seen it done before, to where you said basically everybody can be smart and work hard, and all companies do that, but if you don't have this other abilities, organizational mental health, you don't win.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the word quantify, but I characterized it, and I described it. Right,
because curated the idea.
Yes, because the part of the challenge, I worked as a management consultant in my first right out of college, and it was back in the years when it was all data, strategy, technology, marketing, all these things. And I would just sit there, Dave, and I was this kid from Bakersfield. It was my first job, and I did not succeed there. I mean, we all failed in one way or another, but after 2 years, my tenure was up. But I would sit there in these meetings and watch these really smart people make decisions, and I'd be like, but this isn't going to work. These people don't even like each other. They're not even honest. They're not even putting all their cards on the table, and they don't know how to go rally around these things. And I remember I saying to one of the people there, "Why we got to help them with that?" And they'd say, "Well, they don't pay us to do that." And at a very young age, I said, there's this thing I call it the sophistication bias, Dave. You'll love this.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, well, if it's not something that's not being written about in the Harvard Business Review this week, or if it doesn't confuse me, and if regular people can understand that, it must not be important. And I really think it goes back to biblical principles. It goes back to what you do. There are some simple principles, and you have to follow those. And really smart people are bored with that.
Yeah. They're bored with the law of gravity.
Exactly.
But it'll still knock you on your butt.
Exactly. And so what I found is that the world had passed over all these simple things. I don't think I'm terribly smart. I think I was actually noticing the stuff they were walking over and saying, what about that? Somebody once said to me, I don't know who said this, it's what's assumed that is what's most important. People assumed that people worked well together and they were clear and they worked, and it's like they're not. So when we're trying to over-focus on the technology and the intellectual side of business, and the people are behaving in ways that will never tap into that, we have to go learn that. And people were like, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. That seems boring, or it seems messy. And it's like, well, then it's not going to, the smart stuff is not going to work.
The self-deception that we can enter into when we're in leadership sets us up for these assumptions.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like, I've been working with this person a long time. I trust this person, and I'm turning them loose. And then later on, you just almost feel ashamed when you discover how crappy that they've been doing things and you weren't watching. And it's that's happened to me multiple times in my 30-year career that I just look back and I go, God, that person's awful. And you know what's worse than that? I hired them. And you know what's worse than that? I kept them. And you know what's worse than that? I promoted them.
I was going to say, and promoted them.
Holy jeez. I mean, unbelievable. They're bad, but I'm worse. You know, and it's like, in order to get there, I had to deceive myself at some level. And that, the ability to bust through that crap is so much more important to me to success. It's a straighter path to success than someone being smart.
Absolutely.
We're intellectually intelligent.
And and that kind of vulnerability and honesty is painful at times. And if you want to be a leader, it's going to be lonely and painful at times because you are going to find out, oh my gosh, for 3 years I've been operating under this assumption and I was wrong. And now I have to fix it. And that person's going to suffer for me having to fix it. But it's what I have to do. But you cannot hide from that. And you got to go to people, hey, this isn't working out for you. I probably should have noticed this 2 years ago. I know this has been really hard for you. Yeah. It's my bad. But it's also my responsibility to do something now. Yeah. Oh, if anybody, these wonder-kind kids who come out of college and start a tech company and they want to be famous and rich, it's no wonder they're all dysfunctional, their companies, because they don't have any of this character to admit when they're wrong or to apologize or to feel that pain. They just do away with all their problems. I know I'm all over the map here.
No, but you're exactly right. And in the motive, we get into this. What's your motive for work? What's your motive for being a leader? And if your motive is, I can get in the other person's shoes, I can love them well, and that includes going, you're not capable to do this job. That's love.
Exactly. I have a situation right now where some people came to me in my organization and they've proposed something. And Dave, it's an entrepreneurial thing. I love these people. They're great. I want to say yes. I've encouraged them. Then I looked at what they were doing and it's not even close. And I'm meeting with them when I get back the day after tomorrow to love them, to say, I don't know that you guys can do this. If you can, I'll let you. But if you can't and you try, that's going to be on you. And nobody comes out of the womb wanting to have that conversation.
No, that need for that level of conflict. But the conflict driven by, I actually care about the individual while simultaneously, and I care about their family, their spouse, while simultaneously caring about the organization. That will drive you to healthy conflict on a continuous basis.
Yes, and if you avoid conflict and you still want both of those, you're going to suffer personally for it in your life, in your family, in your health.
No, an organization will fail.
Yeah.
Because if you don't deal with it, the splinter festers. And then you end up, a little splinter, you end up having to amputate the whole freaking leg.
Yep. And what happens is, though, people go, I don't want to take the splinter out. I don't want to take that splinter out. I don't want to, we pass over that. Yeah. It's like, do it right away.
Pretty soon you got a log in your own eye.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really a big deal. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. So as you've been working on the power of this working genius stuff, working on the working genius, it starts to be redundant. But are you seeing... Are you seeing the productivity change or the communication change more?
I think that what happens is the productivity more than anything, because it's the realization.
We're not giving people jobs to do they're not wired to do.
No.
So just simply the job gets done.
And we're allowing them to say, I suck at this. Yeah. And I'm not.
And that's okay.
Exactly. Here's a great story, Dave. A guy was going for his performance review at a company. He knew he hadn't been doing well. And literally, the night before the performance review, he did Working Genius. And he went into the performance review and he said to the guys who were reviewing him, hey, before we get into this, I know it's been a tough period for me, but can you guys look at this? And they read it and they went, you're in the wrong job. Of course you're failing. The things we want you to do, you're terrible at. We have a job over here that you'd be good at. They stopped talking about reviewing the last 6 months, and they started talking about, why are you in a job where you're not going to be good? And he wrote to us and he said, I got a raise because I
didn't get fired.
Right.
Because he's going into review or he's getting canned.
Exactly. Yeah. But he was vulnerable enough to go, hey, I took this test. I suck at what my job is.
He didn't even have to say it. He let them say it.
And that takes a conversation between, I'm going to punch you in the nose and tell you how bad you are, to I want you to succeed. Or sometimes you have to go, hey, you're really bad at the stuff we want you to do. It's the only job we have. You're probably going to have to leave, but don't feel like a bad person. Just go find a job you'd be good at.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite stories, and I use this again, it's an old story, so it's safe. But we had a kid in sales who was, he was horrible. He was just horrible. And we're constantly trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I mean, he just did not have, there was no chance. And finally, the leader sat down and said, what do you want to do? And he goes, I love photography. We're like, well, we don't have a photography. We don't have we do now. I've got a full-time guy now, but back in those days, it was like, we don't have a nurse and we don't have a we don't have a photographer. And he said, well, but we do have EntreLeadership, which was in its early stages then. And he goes, we can show you how to set up a business. So they spent the next 4 months while he was trying to make sales, helping him set up a business. He left, and he became one of the premier photographers in Nashville. A lot of the album covers you see, this kid did them.
And what an act of love. Now, you did two things there. One, you told him the truth. Two, you said, I'm going to give you a runway.
Yeah, an exit ramp.
And I think always treat people with dignity, but you didn't keep him in a job he was going to be miserable at, and then send him away saying you're a failure.
And the other thing is, be frustrated with him because it's your fault once you know it. Once you know it, as a leader, it's your fault. You've not served anybody here.
Exactly.
Enabling never serves anyone.
That's right.
And guys, I'm telling y'all, this stuff is gold because it changes your organization when you say, I love people. I can love my people well. I can compensate them fairly. I can exit them. I can move them. And I can be clear with them. And we can do conflict and we can argue on the basis of the fact that I love you. And we'll get more work done.
Absolutely
That's what's weird.
It's because it's not soft or touchy-feely or indulgent. It actually helps everybody get more done faster.
It's not like we're trying to do, unicorn dust and running a beauty parlor. We're not trying to run drama.
No.
But we're going to deal with these things so that we can get our work done. And you end up with this very effective, loving, high conflict environment. It's very weird.
Isn't it? And what's weird is when we realize that most of our employees actually want to get more work done, and when they can.
And they want to work with people who are getting work done.
Exactly.
They don't want to work with losers.
So it's like their satisfaction and the company's bottom line go up together. Hey, I have a great story for you, Dave. I don't know where the audience was. I don't know if it was EntreLeadership or not, but a woman was in the audience listening to me speak about Working Genius. And she ran her own staffing company. And she decided she was going to quit. I talked about Working Genius. She literally, in the audience, took it, the assessment. It takes 12 minutes. She went back to her team and showed it. They reorganized the business. We called her and said, are you going to sell your business? She goes, oh, no, I love what I'm doing now because I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do. So she's an entrepreneur that was thinking, like, I have to be good at all of this.
Yeah,
no.
You can't be the chief everything officer.
Exactly.
It's a good joke, but it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah.
But you need to be the chief something officer, and you might as well organize the first part of that around the stuff you love to do.
Yeah, yeah. That's why, with my Working Geniuses, my role in my current role as CEOs, I work on new things and broken things.
Right. And broken things, your type, you look at something and go, that's the problem.
There's the problem. Yeah.
And then the new things, you have a lot of invention, so you're like, yeah, I can do that.
Well, and I can see that we're going to have tenacity to push that thing through. It's going to be harder than you think it is.
Right. But sitting around, like you said, working in a think tank where people hug each other and contemplate their navel, those are your
strategic days off. I want to shoot myself while we're doing those strategic days off. They're necessary and it's valuable, but I suck at it and I sit there. It's like it's like a root canal for me.
And there's certain people who wake up and then they go, this is my favorite part of my job.
I can tell you who they are here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, good, we get to do this. It's like ice cream for them. And it's, I can tell you exactly who they are.
It's funny. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
In that case, yeah. And you know what? An organization that doesn't have these things, if you're missing one or two, you get real trouble.
Absolutely.
So you need a D, I, S, and a C. You need all 6 working geniuses. You need, that kind of diversity you need.
Oh, and when that's lacking, you fall off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can. Well, you got holes in your decision-making processes.
Right.
Your decision-making is incomplete.